Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm going to be doing like a kind of favourites, current obsessions video. I love watching these kind of videos on other people's channels, so I thought I would start doing some on mine. So let me know if you like it, and also let me know what you currently like and kind of what you're obsessed with and what your favourites are. So I'm going to start with books. So I am currently obsessed with R Kiernan. I'm always obsessed with R Kiernan, but at the moment I am just reading so many of her books and rereading her books. And I'm currently rereading this, well, I'm reading this one over here. This is Daughter of Hounds. And I'm currently rereading all three of the books in the series. So Threshold, Low Red Moon, and this is the last one, Daughter of Hounds. These are spectacular books. I'm going to do a whole R Kiernan review or kind of author spotlight again. I'm currently in the process of acquiring hopefully all of, or as many of her books as I can, and I'm absolutely loving them. So if you kind of like horror, you like diversity, you like weird narratives and psychological twists and turns, these books are amazing, and I am so obsessed with it. I just cannot get enough. So I've been reading it non-stop for the last 2-3 weeks, just non-stop these books. The other book, the other two books that I've been loving are this one. I've finished reading this one, and this is called Thicker Than Water. I actually read this as part of the reading rush, and I never really got around. I didn't read that many books. I think I only read this and a little bit of another book, so I didn't really do a video kind of concluding the reading rush because I don't think I really won. But I did finish this book, and I love this book. First of all, it has a glorious, glorious, glorious cover. But second of all, this has got a gothic girl main protagonist, which I love. I love a goth protagonist. And it's a dark narrative. It is this character dealing with self-harm and depression and real loss and sorrow. So it has some really dark themes, so trigger warnings for that. But I think it's beautifully written. I love darker narratives anyway. And it's also her kind of finding her way into this alternative goth vampire culture in New York, and it's really, really fascinating. I really enjoyed reading this book. I'll say that the ending wasn't necessarily my favourite, but I loved the whole book, so I'm not going to penalise it for that, and I just think it was beautiful, atmospheric writing. And this is my first novel by this author, Carla Jablonski, sorry. And I think I might actually start to see if she has some other books, because I really, really enjoyed this one. And the other book that I am obsessed with currently and just reading non-stop every morning. So in the mornings, I tend to wake up a little bit earlier and read for like an hour. And it's actually been nice and like rainy and dark, so it's perfect for this book. So what I've been doing is I'm putting on some candles. I love my scented candles, and just kind of reading by candlelight, sort of snuggled up in bed. It's wonderful, and putting on some music as well. So while I've been reading this book, and this book that I'm talking about is The Casket Girls by Alice Arden. Love this book. She's a thick girl, but I'm halfway through and I am obsessed. So this book, it is as if Alice has taken everything in my mind that I love, all the elements, and put it into a book. So this book is set in New Orleans. There's also parts where the main character, Adele, she goes off to Paris. So there's stuff about Paris in there. Paris is just my favourite city in the world. I love all that. She is studying to become a fashion designer, essentially. She's at fashion school. She makes clothes. This lovely top that I'm wearing right here, I made myself recently. I do that. That's kind of my side hustle. I love making things. Secretly, I'll tell you, I've always wanted to be three things when I was a child: a vet, and a designer, and a kind of designer slash makeup artist for like the theatre and for film, so SFX makeup and, you know, costume design, and a writer. I do none of those as a day job, so I get indulged on the weekends. Anyway, so this book, yeah, the main character, Adele, she's studying that. Her father is an artist, and there are spooky kind of gothic elements to this. There are vampires, there are witches. I cannot get enough of this book. I absolutely adore it. So I'm really happily reading my way through this. Apparently there's a second one. Oh, I cannot wait. I have to sort of get ordering the second one so I can get it as soon as I finish reading this. But also what I love about this book, and I will do a full review, is I've been listening to some atmospheric music, and this is a band that I love. It's called This Mortal Coil, and I recently kind of rediscovered this album. I hadn't listened to it sort of forever, and they're kind of quite a symphonic goth band, beautiful lyrical music, and I think it goes beautifully for this book. So candles, this album, this book, it's my ideal way to spend some time. Then the last book thing that I'm absolutely obsessed about is these covers. So this is Stephen King's The Shining, and this really, I think we match. So I love this. This is The Shining, the classic horror of Stephen King's. But what I love about this is they've been reissued with these, they're calling them Halloween edition covers. So a few of the books have been reissued. I want to get the Carrie cover as well because I just love it. But I love the style of this. So you can see some of the others in the back there. But I just love this kind of Halloween edition cover to this book. So I had to purchase it. Then the other things that I'm kind of obsessed with, one is an album and a podcast. So the album is this album over here. It's Creeper, and it's Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void. This album is amazing. This is what I suppose you would call a concept album. It was all built around real life events that happened to one of the members of the band, and there is a podcast that goes along with it, and it is such a wild ride. Basically, one of the members of the band pretty much had a psychotic break, and he thought he was going on a killing spree. Luckily he didn't kill anyone, but he was picked up by the police and he was put away for psychiatric treatment. Just as the band was going to go and make this album, it is fascinating to listen to the podcast, so I would absolutely listen to the podcast as well. But this album is sensational. I've kind of been listening to it non-stop while I've been doing my sewing in the background. I've been listening to this and I absolutely love it. I am obsessed with this album. It is amazing. And then the other things that I've been doing is I've been watching some TV series while I've been doing, my sewing and just kind of having them on in the evenings. And one that I've been obsessed with for a very long time, and I've just watched the 4th season, is this lovely guy over here. And again, we match red and black. My favourite colour combination is Lucifer. And this is basically about the devil, Lucifer, and he comes to LA for a holiday. And it is kind of I would call it that kind of Grady Hendrix sort of horror thing where it's really funny. There's some horrific elements in it. You have all this angels and demons mythology, and it's kind of a cop show as well. It is a lot of fun. I know people that don't like it. I adore the series, and I've loved this 4th series. Get me, I use DVD. Sorry. Then the next thing that I've finally finished watching, and I've been dying to watch for ages, is this. It's The Haunting of Hill House. So I love the book. I will say the book and the series, the narrative kind of deviates as you would expect from a TV series, but this is fantastic. So this is about a family who moved into this house, Hill House, and things start to happen when they're children, and actually this narrative picks them up as they're adults, and each episode kind of focuses on a different one of the kids, focuses on the past. You kind of have to pay attention because it flips between the past and the present, and you really got to pay attention to what's going on in the narrative. But oh my goodness, I think this is wonderful. This is creepy as heck. This is wonderfully gothic. I absolutely love this. Then another franchise that I'm obsessed with is American Horror Story. So this is Ash, not American Horror Story, Ash, it's Roanoke. And it is basically like a documentary style. So basically, at first they made what you call a mockumentary, and then a documentary about, again, a house that is haunted, or the area is haunted, and what happens to these people on the night of the blood moon. And it's fantastic. I actually really like this. Again, I've heard people say they don't like it. I love Roanoke. I love the kind of documentary reality TV style of this, and I think it's really good. And as always, the acting is sensational. There's lots of jumps and creeps and horror elements that I love, and it is fantastic. And then the last thing is this over here is Penny Dreadful. I'm finally getting around to this. Again with the colour cohort. Penny Dreadful is a TV series that's been running for quite a while, I think. So this is the 1st season. Definitely going to get the 2nd. I'm only kind of 5 episodes in, but I already love it. And it's basically gathering loads of different mythological characters. So you've got Dr. Frankenstein, you've got Van Helsing, you've got vampires, you've got kind of like possession-y, witchy type stuff. You've got gunslingers, you've got Eva Green, she's incredible in this, and Josh Hartnett. It is great. It is gory. It has some real kind of dark, creepy elements to it, but it is great. It is so much fun. I'm adoring this. And then one last thing that I'm loving as well is a podcast. So I mentioned the one for Creeper, and the other one that I love is called The Boo Crew. And The Boo Crew talk about like horror films, authors. They focus a lot on film, but they interview people, and it's all to do with kind of the dark and the horror, and if you're darkly inclined, I think you will enjoy this podcast. So the Boo Crew, that's another thing that I'm absolutely obsessed about. And like I said, making my own clothes. I might talk about this separately in a video because this is running too long now. But yeah, that's me. That's my kind of favorites and obsessions at the moment. Tell me what you're interested in. Tell me if you've like watched, heard, read any of these things. Yeah, and hope you're all keeping well and safe still. Thank you all for listening, and I'll speak to you all again very soon. Bye.